Hello, everybody. This is Ori B from Hoop Social. This is the Creator Hour. We are here today with a very special guest that I'm going to bring on in a few moments. But first, as usual, we have to talk about what is going on in the NBA today. Last night, we had a close game as the Timberwolves staved off elimination for the moment. I don't believe anybody thinks that they are going to come back and win this series. We've all seen the numbers. I believe it's 154-0. Teams are when they're up 3-0. Nothing. Granted, they showed fight, which is what you wanted them to show, and exactly what you'd expect from a team this good and a team that played Denver so tough. But it is kind of looking like maybe they gave Denver all of their best punches because we're kind of in a situation where Minnesota is looking exhausted. Karl Anthony Towns, after having a good showing against Denver, has been absent most of the series except for this last game. And Edwards has had some struggles. Gobert has had a lot of moments of ineffectiveness to the point that Kendrick Perkins got so upset that he even voted for Gobert, which to me is pretty wild. Uh, Kendrick Perkins said that it was the biggest regret in his entire media career so far was voting for Rudy Gobert as Defensive Player of the Year, just because of the ineffectiveness that he's had so far in this series. Um, I don't know. That's a tough thing to say. People tend to jump on Rudy real quick as soon as there are any issues. So I'm not gonna hop on that train. But Minnesota is having trouble, and it looks like Dallas is going to move on. And Dallas has played extraordinarily well. If you follow any of the media outlets or the sports media outlets, you'll know that Tim Legler actually around mid-April said, "Watch out for Dallas. The Mavericks are good. They made good deals. They're playing well. They are on a streak, and they are on fire." The Mavericks look incredible. I mean, the combination of Luca and Kyrie probably has proven a lot of doubters wrong because I will admit I was on the boat of or the train of thought that these two were going to be unsuccessful together. I thought that they were too ball dominant and just too much ego and too many things to spread the ball around. I just didn't think there was going to be enough ball to go around for these two, and I've been proven completely wrong. They both bought in to winning, and both have shown that they can play off each other very well. And when you have two dynamic playmakers, two dynamic scorers, and two guys that aren't afraid of the big moments in the playoffs, you're an extraordinarily dangerous team with that setup, and that's what we're seeing with Dallas. This is tough. With a team coming in this hot, Boston better watch out. Boston took care of business, did what they had to do. Say what you will about the competition. I know that's the big talking point right now amongst the talking heads is the lack of competition in the Eastern Conference is maybe not testing Boston enough. So Boston may be less prepared when it comes to finals time. I know rhythm is a big deal in the NBA. I know rest is a big deal in the NBA. So we're gonna see uh, what's in store. I mean, we should be really excited. If you're Adam Silver, how excited are you that you are looking right directly in the face of a Dallas Mavericks Boston Celtics matchup? You get two young stars that you're hoping to be the face of the league, the Tatum and Luca, which I would say are. You have two extraordinarily tough teams, two teams with proven talent, two teams with some experience. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. I know that the Timberwolves still have a chance. I understand that, and people are going to say that for sure. I'm not trying to count them out 100%, but surely statistically, based on the evidence that we have, you can count them out about 99%. So we're probably pretty good. But um, yeah, should be an interesting series if that's what comes to fruition. The stars are going to have to come out to play, and I would imagine it would be a high viewed series as well because the popularity of both those teams, the popularity of the players, the big cities, the big markets. This could be a really big deal for the NBA, and I think that we should all brace ourselves for a really exciting series. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Um, I don't think one team is particularly, way better than the other. I know Boston had the better season, but the Mavericks are hot right now, and that's what's important in the playoffs. So it could be a very good series. I'm hoping for a very good series. I know all the NBA fans are hoping for a very good series, and let's count on it, and let's just brace ourselves for what could be a really really good time. Uh, so speaking of good times, I have somebody that I have worked with before here on Sports Fluent. This gentleman is a content creator. He has his hand in a lot of different things. A really smart guy, really knowledgeable about the game. He's an historian. He appreciates and respects the history of the game, and he's very good with numbers and analytics, and just a genuinely fascinating human being. So I would like to welcome to the floor. This is Tony Styles. Bring him up here. Hey,
how you doing, Orry? I'm doing pretty good, Orry. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. I'm glad you could make it, my guy. Glad you could make it.
Yeah, me too.
All
so
right,
what's up, man? What you want to talk about? Let's get into it.
Yeah, well, typically the way I run this thing, I want to know a little bit about you first. You as a content creator and your NBA story and journey to your NBA fandom. And I always start with the simple question: what got you started in content creation game?
I've realized, and this is going to sound cocky and arrogant, but I've realized that I am in like the top whatever percentile, really, really high up in my basketball knowledge. I have very rarely ever met people that know more than me. It's not saying that you won't know something that I don't know or whatever, but if we just went, point by point, you know what I mean? Like I can always outpoint people. I've had compliments from guys like Brian Windhorst, Jared Greenberg, Lawrence Frank, Rudy Tomjanovich, a bunch of people that have played in the NBA or covered it or coached it or whatever. And I just see all these people making money off of and creating content off of basketball knowledge. And I was like, dude, I should do this. I should have been doing this for years, really. And then I ended up getting on Fluent's show, Fluent and Chill, one time. And just all the comments were about me because I was just bringing up point after point about, certain things that just a lot of people didn't know. I started getting into basketball when I was really young. My dad and my mom were both like drug addicts in and out in prison. But me and my dad, we could always like bond over basketball. My dad was like a big sports fanatic. This dude would watch everything on top: bowling, tennis, pool, just a bunch of sports I would never watch. Golf, things like that, and you watch baseball and all that. But anyway, so we got talking basketball or whatever, and then I started collecting cards. And I remember the very first pack of cards I ever bought and opened, I ended up getting Shaq's rookie card. But I grew up with like I said, I grew up in like trap houses, drug houses, so all my cards got stolen. I didn't get to keep any of them. They all got like robbed from me when I was like 11. So yeah, then I just started, and then on the back of cards, there used to be stats. And then I started competing stats with players. I started going, well, let's just give a point for each stat. And then what we would do is, and then we would move one player on and move one player. And I would use that to try to figure out who is the best player. And that's kind of how it got started with my like numbers and analytics and stats and all that.
Now before your fascination with basketball, did you always have a fascination with numbers as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been into numbers. I truly believe, especially with my spiritual beliefs and all that. And I mean, this is a fact. You can't even argue this, but I believe the true language of the gods is math. Everything is a math formula. Literally everything. You want to create a planet? Well, there's a math formula to that. You want to create a human? There's a math formula to that. Us talking right now, we can write this out as an equation. You know what I mean? Because you have to fire off so many neurons and so many electrons. And I'm saying everything is literally a math equation. So as I've gotten older, I've realized that more and more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's certainly something that you can see as the foundation for a lot of things. 100%, or foundation for everything. Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you tie the fascination with math and the fascination with basketball, I imagine it leads you down a lot of rabbit holes. What drives you to find like that next nugget of information?
Well, so to me, it's the fact of I just want to say the correct things. I don't ever argue my beliefs. I argue what like the numbers and the math says. And I'm not saying that the eye test doesn't matter, because sometimes the eye test does matter. But what I'm saying is if the eye test is telling you somebody's better and there's absolutely no numbers to back it up, then I got to say your eye test is flawed. Because according to the eye test, Jamal Crawford is an awesome player. J.R. Smith is an awesome player. Yeah. White Chocolate is an awesome player. None of them were awesome players. As far as like upper echelon, I mean, to get to the NBA, score 15 a game, yeah, that's an awesome thing. But nobody's going to be putting him in the Hall of Fame because of that and all that. So that's what I'm saying. So I've seen eye tests where I know. Here, I'll give you a prime example. Larry Johnson's my all-time favorite player. I enjoyed watching Larry Johnson play basketball the most. But he isn't the greatest player of all time. So obviously my eyes lie to me. You know what I mean? So that's where I go into it, and that's really where I'm trying to find out the truth. And whether people want to hear it or not, if they check me out on my show or my live or anything like that on TikTok, they hear it, and I get a lot of pushback because they just can't believe like some of the things I say.
Well, being somebody that appreciates math, I could understand that you probably view things with a certain lens of objectivity. So you want things to be unbiased as much as possible. And honestly, I mean, we live in we participate in a act in which opinion kind of rules the day. So it definitely is hard to be as objective as you are. So, I mean, do you think that helps you when it comes to analyzing players compared to other analyzers or other analyzers? There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, I absolutely do, because like I said, I don't have an agenda. I'm just looking for the truth. That's all that matters. Whatever the true statement is. Like, one of the things that people don't understand, and they always try to argue with me, like I'll say something like, for example, the 95 Rockets are the greatest team of all time. And people are like, no, so you're telling me they're the best team of all time? Well, first off, we don't even know the difference between greatest and best. Greatest and best are two completely different things. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Jamal Crawford is better than Bob Cousy, but he has no rings, no All-Stars, no MVPs. He can't be greater. Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. So we need to understand the difference between best and greatest. So when I say greatest, I'm like, they're the only team to win 4 rounds on the road. You can't do this. And I get into like some arguments with people, and they're like, well, no, I think like when a season goes perfect, then that makes you the greater team. I go, no, that makes you a best team. Because if we read the greatest love story ever told, they're going to have to overcome some adversity. The greatest battle ever fought. It's overcoming adversity. It's always overcoming adversity when we talk about the greatest tale of the greatest film of all time or whatever. It's somebody overcoming some sort of adversity. So when I look at the Rockets, and they are the only team to win every round on the road, especially against every team that had at least 57 wins and every team that had at least an MVP, then the only way you can say these other teams are greater, not better, greater, is if you value regular season wins over postseason wins. And I don't.
You know what? You, without knowing it, just did the perfect segue. Because speaking of facing a lot of adversity, how about the Celtics and everybody talking about how they're facing no adversity? What do you say about, or what's your opinion on the Celtics' journey so far?
Goes into the better thing. I think they've been the better team all year long. To be honest with you, they might be the best team of all time through the first 45 minutes of a game. If they didn't
Mm,
have the struggles about the 3 minute mark or last 6 minute mark, whatever you want to put that at, where they become stagnant offensively and they go 1-on-3 for step back threes, and that's their entire offense, they probably are the best team of all time. If they played like they played for the first 45 minutes of every game throughout every game, they probably would have went 75-7.
yeah, I
Some
mean, because you look
crazy ungodly number.
well, because you look at the net rating and the way that they were beating people. Absolutely, because then you dive deeper and you look at their clutch numbers, and that's where they struggle completely. Is right in that scenario. So
And
I
that's an eye
definitely
test. And I've never even broke it down. I just watch it, and you can tell. Like, I watch you guys quit passing the ball. I watch you guys. I'll tell you another thing. This is one of my favorite stats. And nobody, I don't think anybody would ever guess this, but very late in the season, and I didn't keep up with the stats, so maybe it dropped, maybe it stayed the same. But at some point, very late in the season, Porzingis was averaging the most points ever on post-up plays, or maybe it was the team.
yeah.
I forget which one it was.
Nope,
But
it was Porzingis. You're right.
okay, it was Porzingis. Okay, so the most points ever on post-up possessions. That is an awesome thing to have in your repertoire. And that is what your third option. Your third option is setting records at this. And I'm a big post-up guy. I think more post-up. I think you get teams in foul trouble more with the post. I think you suck in the D. I think you create better open shots. So I mean, I'm a big proponent of post-ups. So for him to have that, I mean, that's crazy. So once again, the Celtics team will never be considered a great team because, like I said, they didn't have any adversity. But a best team, like, if we put them up against the 22 Warriors or whomever, they're going to have a good chance to beat any team ever. They are so deep. They're
Yeah,
unbelievably deep.
and it's interesting because I mean, you look at the numbers just from the face value, and I mean, yeah, like this looks like one of the most dominant teams that we've ever seen. It looks, I mean, they're rarefied air when it comes to their net rating, especially for the whole season, including the playoffs. I saw that they're in, company with the 96 Bulls, 17 Warriors, and then you got these Celtics. Everyone is so uneasy about these Celtics. Still, with that being the case, do you think in a matchup with the Mavericks that the whatever the Achilles heel that Boston has is going to show its face?
Not 4 times out of 7. I said this going in. I said this going in. I said that Boston looks like they're going to run through the league before the playoffs even started. And I said the only one that I got to give them respect was Denver. I think Denver could beat them. That I had to give them the respect that Denver was because they're the defending champs and they have the best player on the planet. And not only that, he's like, I think his PER, his playoff PR is the highest ever, Jokic. So when somebody
Yes.
is that efficient, and I know some people don't like PER, but you have to look at PER with two things. It's kind of like a car. A car will get you from point A to B, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it won't get you from point A to B without tires or gas, correct?
Right.
Right. So you need some other factors in there to do that. So if you look at PER and then you look at minutes played and usage rate, that will give you an accurate description of people's PER. So when you got like DeAndre Jordan at like, I'll just make this up, a 30 PER, well, nobody's going to put him in the company of Wilt and Jordan and Jokic. But then you look at like his usage rate, well, it's way down. That's why his PER is so high. Or whomever, you know what I mean? I know JaVale McGee has a very high PER, like a lot higher than like Draymond, Klay Thompson, and all that. But so things like that. So yeah, going into it, I mean, I just thought Boston was clearly the best team. Like, it looks like it's going to be the Mavs, obviously. I would say Luka's probably the best player in that series. I don't know what the numbers are to the conference finals. I know going into the conference finals, Luka was shooting 42% from the field and 30% from three. I know that's not going to work against the Celtics. There's just too much. After Luka, I would say the Celtics have the next two best players. Then I would say that, and then I guess we can say Dallas has the fourth best. And then I would probably say the Celtics have the next six best players. So out of the top 10 players in the series, the Celtics will have 8 out of the top 10.
And that's where on paper it just looks like it's set up for Boston to really have their way with Dallas theoretically, but we just as good as I do that's probably not going to happen.
No, but then again too on the thing of it, because Dallas won 50 games this year.
I think they're right near that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just say 50.
So
We'll just say 50 games. How many 50-game wins champions are there? Very few. Very, very few. Very few. So normally when a 64-win team meets a 50-win team, the 50-win team gets annihilated. And that's why I hate like some of these stats when people bring up like, well, he beat a 50-win team. Yeah, but he won 65 games. That's not impressive. It's not impressive that the 65-win team won 50.
It's interesting that you bring that up because on one of the outlets today, they were talking about the Boston Celtics have not beaten a 50-win team in this playoff. And that could lead to them not being tested. Like, are there going to be ramifications for this being so quote unquote easy?
No, I don't think so, because at the end of the day, they're still better, and they still ran through all these other teams, in the regular season. I'm not saying, regular season necessarily translate, but I mean, what was their record against 50-win teams in the regular season? I bet it was pretty good. I don't know the record, but I know if you're 64-18, I bet your record was pretty good. So, I mean, they beat 50-win teams over and over and over and over, and then they didn't even have a chance to lock in. Because that's why the playoffs are so hard, because you can really game plan for a team, because it's not, I have a game on Tuesday, a game on Wednesday, I fly out on Thursday, I have a different game on Friday. You don't have that in the playoffs. You lock in on one team. So, like I said, it's just, the team is just way too deep. Like I said, I don't see anybody beating them. We had playoff previews, I think every round on my show, and you can hear all the things I said about the Celtics. The only people I could see beat the Celtics was Denver. I don't see Minnesota beating them. I didn't see the Thunder beating them. I didn't see the Bucks beating them. I didn't see the Heat beating them. I mean, I just couldn't see anybody beating the Celtics. I thought they would give away a couple games, in a series, to a good team by playing like shit like they normally do with the last 3 minutes, but not 4 out of 7 times.
Yeah. And that I think is the key. Is they may, throw a couple away, but 4 out of 7 times, this team's too strong. I definitely agree there. Now, if you're Dallas and you're looking for the best possible way to strategize against Boston, what kind of things do you need to happen to have a good shot?
Well, a couple different things. Is one, historically, Kyrie plays loser ball, okay? But we've seen this over and over again, because I didn't think the Dallas thing would work out. But we had seen a roadmap to where this does work out before, and then I just didn't put the pieces together. Kyrie is not a point guard. Anytime you play with Kyrie as the point guard, you are not going to go very far. Why? Because his worst skill is passing the ball. That is his worst skill. And that's unacceptable from a point guard. But we see when LeBron takes over point guard duties, they do pretty well. When Luka takes over point guard duties, they do pretty well. But when he's out on Boston, they go to the conference finals without him, get annihilated in the second round. They say, we'll replace you with nothing, and then we improve again as the Celtics. And we go back to the conference finals. Harden, Durant, what was the best they ever did? A second round appearance? So, like I said, Kyrie. So that's one. Definitely keep Kyrie not playing the point guard. 2, it's too late. It's too late to do this. But I would love to see any team do this, okay? I bet you will set the record for wins, biggest point margin, and you will win a title if you do this. But once again, this is too late to do. One of my favorite stats, and I've never really seen it as a stat, so maybe I came up with it, so a lot of people call it a bullshit stat, but it doesn't matter because it's still valid, and hold it up against great players and see what's what. What you need to do is you need to figure out how many points you get per field goal attempt. You know what I mean? If you're shooting the ball, if you're scoring, 10 points a game off 8 shots, that means you're getting 1.25 points per field goal attempt. If you're scoring 30 off 20, you get 1.5. So we get the point what I'm making. Okay, yep. You need to factor in whoever gets the highest points per field goal attempt, they need to take the most shots on that team. And then you need to trickle it down. Now, the problem is you get guys like, Daniel Gafford, who are getting I'll just make this up, 3 points off a field goal attempt or whatever. So what you need to do is you need to slowly increase their shot attempts to see if that holds up. And as long as it holds up, you just keep increasing. Once you see the drop off, then you need to taper it down to whatever the correct number is for the maximized efficiency. So any team that wants to maximize their efficiency based off points per shot attempt, that would be the best way to beat any team.
I like that. That's a very interesting thought, and coming from you makes sense. Very mathematical. I like the way you're thinking there. Now, if you took that into consideration, um, with your formulas that you use, who you said that Kyrie ends up being probably the fourth best player in the series. That's going to be controversial. Is there something about Kyrie that your formula doesn't like?
I don't like the fact that he can't get his other teammates involved to an effective level. Is what I don't like. I don't like that when he scores, he has to use 16 dribbles to score. Okay, because that takes away from it makes it a harder shot. It makes it more energy, more usage, more everything. Okay, and that's what people don't understand. We value the harder shot instead of the easier shot. The whole goal of offense is to never take a hard shot. People don't even realize that. That is the whole goal. That's why you have schemes. That's why you run plays. That's why you run your sets. So you never have to take a hard shot. That's why, like, for example, people are like, but Kobe Bryant's the toughest hard shot maker. I don't want anybody taking hard shots on my team. You're valuing the wrong shit. Because at the end of the day, you're going to shoot 22% on hard shots. Or if you're really good, you'll shoot 30% or whatever the number is. But it's a very low, inefficient number. So that's what I mean. They have to run all the points and the plays that gets them the easiest shots. That makes the most points per shot attempt. It's just a real simple formula, and I don't know why teams don't do it.
Do you think that Kyrie's kind of a black hole on offense because of that lack of playmaking?
To a certain degree, but he's such a great scorer. He is such a great scorer. The problem is, though, I mean, and he's a great shooter. He's a great finisher. He's a bunch of great things and all that. But as long as you can run the plays where he doesn't have the ball in his hands every time and does that, that's not going to work. But if you have his certain sets and moments, like we've seen with LeBron and now we're seeing with Luka, and that works for him, where he can go off in the first half and then he doesn't really score again in the second half. You know what I mean? So you have to find that balance with Kyrie, because can't nobody stop him. But at the end of the day, like I said, you can't be a point guard not getting your teammates involved, because the game's 5-on-5, not 1-on-1. And that's another wrong thing people value. He's the best 1-on-1 player ever, but the game's 5-on-5. Why would I want the best? I want the best 5-on-5 player, right?
Right.
Wouldn't that make more sense than the best 1-on-1? Like, it's just silly arguments.
How good your bag is doesn't matter if you can't get to the basket and be productive and effective and efficient.
Right, like Shaq had one move. Would you rather have Kyrie's bag or Shaq's?
Right, exactly. And most of the people would say Kyrie's in a heartbeat, but it's
valuing the wrong shit.
Exactly. I mean, there's production and what you actually do, and that's what matters at the end of the day. You're definitely right there for sure. Now, not to poke a bear, but our audience, is going to want to hear why you're picking Jaylen Brown over Kyrie Irving in this series as well.
He's bigger.
Go ahead.
He's bigger. He rebounds at a better rate. I got news for people. People don't realize how valuable rebounds are. Okay, and this isn't always the case, but this is generally the case. Rebounds equals more possessions. More possessions, better chance of winning. More possessions, the less efficient you can be. So you can make more mistakes with more possessions. You have a greater margin of error. He rebounds better. He passes better. And I know not by the numbers, but it just seems like he gets – that's an eye test thing. So by the numbers, I'd say Kyrie gets more assists. But like I said, I like his efficiency better at his size, his rebounding rate, things like that better is why I like it.
I got you.
And generally speaking, since he's been in the league, I haven't seen him miss the playoffs. You know what I mean? He regularly goes to the conference finals or the finals as well. So obviously something's right. That's the problem I think there is. That's the problem I think there is with the Nuggets. They don't have a second All-Star.
Yeah. So you think the Jamal Murray being that kind of playoff All-Star doesn't quite do it all the way?
No, Jamal Murray's an idiot. He said one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And because of that, I just can't believe that it translates into smart basketball. He told me any team down 0-2 sucks.
What?
Yeah, he told me last year, what was it, May of last year, Any team down 0-2 in the playoffs sucks. So the 21 Bucks, they suck.
Yikes.
The 93 Bulls suck. There's all these title teams that suck. They're awful.
Interesting.
And that's why when his team got down 0-2, I don't know why he didn't just mail it in and say that he sucks.
Right. I was gonna say, I mean, by his own standard. I mean, what in the world? That's such an odd thing to say.
So I don't believe Jamal Murray is going to be anything good because, like I said, if those are the thoughts that go through your mind, I just can't believe that you're going to execute at a high level of basketball.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that Denver, not to get on a tangent about them, but do you think that they're kind of at their ceiling unless they add a little bit more?
I think they're hit and miss. I think Jokic has proven that he is so good, you know what I mean? And it's like they're role players. In Game 7, like, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but like Michael Porter had 6 points. Aaron Gordon had 4 points. But if next time around, if they have 14 points and 12 points, they probably win. And those guys can drop 14 points just as easy as they could 4. But if you had a second guy that's really consistent, a consistent all-star, yeah, then I believe they could really go off on a tear.
Absolutely, as sure. Now, talking about the Western Conference a little bit, despite the fact that the Timberwolves are about to get knocked out, Anthony Edwards has done a lot of great things. Has he changed your mind about what you think kind of player he can become, or were you always high on Anthony Edwards?
I've been high on Anthony Edwards the last couple seasons. I mean, I see him at his peak, 36-6 guy. You know, like around those Jordan or like those peak Kobe seasons, McGrady seasons, things like that. I see him up around there. I'll tell you what really has changed my opinion, and is Naz Reid. That dude is awesome. That dude is awesome. I'll put it this way. That Game 7 stretch where Towns went out with foul trouble and they put in Naz Reid, I forget the exact number, but it's like from minute 6 through minute 3, that 3-minute stretch, he played in that 3-minute stretch as good as anybody ever. Yeah. Like, I don't think you guys understand that ever. Jordan, Will, Russell, Kareem, LeBron, Kobe, Duncan, Shaq, Bird, Magic, whoever you want to say, ever. That was as good as 3 minutes as anybody ever.
That's a take right there, folks.
Well, I mean, think about this. In 3 minutes, he had something like 7 points, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks, and like 2 assists.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's talk about
now times that by 12. Right. Now times that by 12. 7 times 12. If this is over a 36-minute game, if he played at that rate, that's 84 points, 3 rebounds at 12. That's 36 rebounds, 2 assists at times 12. It's 24 assists, 2 blocks, 24 blocks. Now you can't tell me that's not as good as ever.
Right. That's
hit threes, hit people on the wing on the pass, running the break, blocked Jokic twice, offensive rebounds, that's as good as anybody ever. So that's really who my opinion's changed on. That dude needs to start.
Yeah, and anywhere else he would, I think, all day. I mean, he's truly a remarkable talent. I agree. I'm glad that you said that because I was obviously familiar with Naz Reid, but now that I've gotten even more familiar, it's like, wow, this guy can really bring it.
Yeah, I was big on Malik Monk being the 6th man of the year. And then after what I've just seen Naz Reid do in the playoffs, and I know it's a regular season versus playoff award, but me personally, since I don't have a vote, I don't give a shit. I still factor in playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, I just, that dude is awesome. Like I said, I hope he gets some minutes somewhere, gets moved into the starting line. I mean, I'd really just like to see what he could really, really do because I was big on Tyrese Maxey. I said this, before the season. I said going forward, if I could keep one player, I'd rather keep Maxey over Embiid because of the injury history, obviously. And I just thought 80 games of Maxey would be better than 50 games of Embiid. And then when Embiid went out, Maxey's shit just dropped. So he was everything I thought he wasn't. So he didn't rise, he deflated. So now I'm off Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember seeing the Philadelphia had such an interesting season this year. I've been talking about that a little bit with some of my TikTok posts and how.
I saw your post.
Yeah, how the process didn't go so great for him either.
No. What was the draft picks that Philly and who
Oh,
else passed?
Philly and LA
Yeah.
back twice missed Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It's. I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020. I do understand that, but you got to be really biting yourself in the ass when you're like, man, I can't believe that the process could have worked out.
Well, bro, I got one for you. I'm a Suns fan. Missed the playoffs for 10 years. We got Devin Booker out of the deal. You know what I mean? We could have Jokic. We could have Giannis. Instead of Giannis, what was that dude's name from that went from the Celtics? Ryan McCullough or whatever his name was, that GM? That dude is awful at judging talent because who the hell wants Alex Lynn over Giannis? Who the hell trades Isaiah Thomas and Goran Dragic so we can get Brandon fucking Knight? You know what I mean? So if you want to talk about some draft woes, we could have had Luka. We could have had Giannis. We could have had Jokic.
It always makes you wonder, people, the professionals always tend to tease us fanalists that we couldn't do as good as a GM. But then you look at some of these GMs and it's like, are you sure? Are you really sure?
I'm telling you, I can fuck up a team like Ryan McCollum all day.
Right.
All day.
Absolutely.
All day. Same thing goes for Lance Blakes. You know what I mean? All of them.
You pay me that money to ruin a franchise. I'll pull a Michael Jordan. I'll draft the Kwame Brown. Don't test me.
I'll take 1/10 of the money too. You can have me ruin your franchise way cheaper.
Absolutely. Oh man. So now moving forward a little bit to the we talked about the finals. We talked about some of the pieces, some of the movement, the young stars. Now, I mentioned in my monologue how Adam Silver has got to be excited about the fact that we're going to have two big stars in Luka and Tatum in kind of a dueling situation. International versus American.
But right now, Tatum's like a secondary star.
But he's in those conversations. I understand maybe like when it comes to his play, I would agree. He's kind of playing himself not at a superstar level, but he's so close that I can see why. I mean, they've always been kind of, even though Luka's had the higher level of production and those type of things, I feel like they've always been kind of compared 1-to-1. So it just kind of leads to
I'm not talking about his play. I'm just talking about his marketability. The only people I've ever seen that like are into Jason Tatum's are girls that want to sleep with him. Other than that, I've never heard somebody like, I love Tatum. I don't see him in commercials. I don't see him, you know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't have the marketability. He's clearly a top 10 player.
New England. He's everywhere.
That's that little region. Hey, but that's a little region. I'm way far from there. But I see Luka on the TV. I see Joel. I see Jokic. I see a bunch of players. I see Giannis. I see more Chris Paul than I see Jason Tatum.
That's crazy. See, being New England, we see so much Jason Tatum that we get our fill quite quickly. He's on everything, all the chips packages and all the Gatorade, and there's Tatum everywhere. So that's funny to see it from your perspective. That's interesting. But
I'd say that's most of the country.
And that's it. And that's it. I mean, I know New England obviously is not a large piece, but we're substantial enough that I find that he's.
Hey, do you want to know something?
He's got a level of marketability. Yeah.
You want to know something? I believe the county I live in is either the same size as Rhode Island or bigger. So yeah, you guys don't. Yeah, so you guys don't have much geographically up there in the New England area.
That's funny. Yeah, no, not a lot of geographically, but we got some cities. We got Boston. I mean, that's enough.
Hey, you guys got a lot of clout. You guys got a lot of clout because I mean, you look at like your media things: Simmons, McMullen, Bob Ryan. Like a lot of people come out of Boston or the New England area.
Absolutely. It's the breeding grounds for excellence naturally. So so my question to kind of, so we're getting off the rails here a little bit, but you don't think Jason Tatum is marketable enough? I understand that he may not be quite at Luka's level, but Do you think that that's something? Is that why do you think that is?
I'm just saying, I don't. It's not that I don't think he's not marketable. I think he's currently not being marketed because, like I said, I don't see him with the big commercials. I don't see him with the signature shoe. I don't see people out here going Tatum or anything like that, or like trying to play like Tatum. I don't see anybody walking around with a Tatum jersey. You know what I mean? Like, he might be big in your guys' region, but that's like, okay, so I'm in the Phoenix area. For those that people don't know, there ain't no bigger player than Booker in the league. But I realize he's clearly not the biggest player. But
Right.
out here, like, everybody loves Booker. And then Booker's really embraced the city. Like, he tweets out, hey, get these, like when the Super Bowl was here, get these people out of my city. Like when he was going to the finals, I need everybody to come out and support. The guy that beat up the Nuggets fan, he's like, I need this dude's info. He's taking jersey. Like, everybody loves Booker. Out of all the NBA players I've ever met, and I've met a shitload of NBA players, he's by far the coolest one. Like, we just sat down and talked for like an hour about basketball. Like, I ran into him at a club once and all that. So, so what I'm saying is I recognize Booker has an extremely big marketing presence here, but I don't think that's all over the nation because I don't see him on the major commercials and stuff.
So you think that may be what kind of holds Tatum back from being what you would consider a superstar then?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying Adam Silver, his marketing dream isn't Luka versus Tatum, is what I'm saying. That's the point I was making. Adam Silver. Now, he might be excited about the Celtics because that's a historic franchise for the league. You know what I mean? But I'm sure he would much rather have, Lakers, Celtic. That's why I always hate when they try to say that David Stern vetoed the trade for Kobe and Chris Paul because he didn't want Kobe to get his 6th ring like Mike. First off, his 6 rings like Mike wouldn't count because 3 of them were a secondary player. And secondly, Stern did whatever he could to get the Lakers good. He would never cost him and his league tens of millions of dollars by making the Lakers worse. So we all know it's an open secret. The league wants like the Lakers and Bulls or Lakers and Knicks or Lakers and Celtics. That's what the league wants because that draws ratings. And now the Warriors. I guess the Warriors would be in that mix too.
So you don't think Boston and Dallas would be big enough markets? I feel like Dallas is still pretty big, right?
I don't think Dallas is really a big market. Like, I don't remember the 06 finals going nuts because Dallas was in it. Or same thing in 11 with Dallas being in it. Dallas doesn't drive ratings. Like I said, I don't meet Mavs fans up the ass. I meet Lakers fans. I do meet Celtics fans to a lesser degree. But like I said, with the most titles, historic team and all that. But yeah, I don't think it's Silver's marketing dream. But then again, is it better than Minnesota? Probably.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be a heck of a lot better than Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota, don't get me wrong, they would have a lot of the underdog, I think, crew rooting for them. But yeah, from a marketing standpoint, I don't think anybody would want that a couple games.
Yeah, see, I'd be torn. Yeah, I'd be torn because, I enjoy watching Minnesota play. I'm rooting for them the rest of the way from a personal standpoint. But then, like I said, I'm a Suns fan. I don't like the Lakers. So, I'd like Boston to get a title ahead of them.
Yeah. Heck yes.
Anybody but the Lakers. Anybody but the Lakers.
Anybody but the Lakers. I agree with that sentiment full-fledged. Now, the Lakers, interesting. I mean, we talked about the playoffs. I can talk about the Lakers now. JJ Redick, I don't see it. Is this just kind of like a overexhausted, like overhyped rumor mill? Or is JJ Redick going to really be a legitimate candidate? Do you think he could actually be the coach of the Lakers?
No, I don't think that. Well, because the way I know probability percentages, I can't say there's a 0% chance because that's an impossible probability. But it's as close to 0 as you can get, in my opinion, because JJ is killing it on what's the NBA show he's on ESPN or whatever.
Oh well. Yeah,
no. There's that. There's Old Man in the 3, and now there's the X's and O's one with LeBron. Like he's just doing it way too big as an analysis. So like, why would you do that? And if you're really the analysis, you say you are. The Lakers have no chance of winning a title. Not no chance, but as low as it can be. They are at best a second round team. They just don't have a chance. So I don't know why you would give all that up to go coach a team. And supposedly X's and O's and all this. and you're going to prove that you didn't know any better than Darvin Ham.
Mm. Yeah,
And not only that,
honestly,
you get a year older LeBron too.
yeah, you're a little LeBron, and I feel like they use Ham as a scapegoat because it's not like they had a lot going on, to be honest, right?
Well, I don't know. There was that report, and you can look it up. I think Brian Windhorst reported it, that Ham likes to fiddle with himself during the game while staring at fans. So
Well,
that's out there on the internet right now. Like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's out there. So if you want to go check it out, yeah, they say Darvin Ham fiddled with himself while he was coaching the game, cut a hole in his pocket and all that.
well, that would certainly explain why his schemes weren't working. So I guess I could. That's ridiculous.
Maybe his scheme was working. Maybe his scheme was working. Maybe you just weren't looking at the right scheme.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you this much. They used to say this, Darvin Ham with the Pistons, he used to wear his title ring everywhere. Like if he was going to the barber shop, yeah, he would wear his ring. Going to the store, going out to the movies, he wore his ring everywhere. It's like, bro, that 2 points a game you contributed. Like, don't ever forget.
It's hilarious, but I have to admit, I would probably do the exact same thing. I would probably just, wear it everywhere. I'd be the guy that didn't play a minute and just be waving it around. Hey, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I'm currently in the process of trying to become a billionaire, and as soon as I do, I'm actually going to collect every championship ring of every sport. Like I don't even watch college football. I'll collect them.
There you go. Yeah, heck yes. Why not?
So I'll be that guy too.
It's a very interesting.
But I can't wear them.
Stars. They got a lot over there apparently. Yeah.
Right. I've been. I've been. Yeah. I've been there. It's a lot smaller than you think it is.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's pretty small. It's not that big. So actually, I ended up texting what was his name, Corey. I was trying to get him on my show because I wanted to know about what memorabilia is worth the most generally and why.
Gotcha. Oh, that would have been interesting. I definitely see they could have some insight on sports memorabilia for sure.
Yeah, another fun one is a couple months ago I actually called Bill Walton's wife. I was trying to get him on the show. And then she's like, I'll pass along the message. And then, he never got back to me. And now I find out why.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Bill Walton. He was such an ambassador for the league. I've always been a big Bill Walton guy. I mean, naturally, I didn't see him play until, the film was accessible to me. But when I, knew him as a broadcaster and stuff, I mean, some of my earliest memories are just Bill Walton broadcasts. And
throw it down, big man. Throw it down.
Yeah. Oh, he was.
I will say this.
Enthusiasm and stuff.
I will say this. Bill Walton's year and a half peak from the 77 title till he went down in 78 with the injury the next season is top 10 of all time. And I don't care. And I don't care what the numbers say.
You're a hoop
wait a minute. But here's the thing, though, too. The numbers, because people try to knock him for, only averaging 18 points. I don't care. They won almost every game. And that's what it's about. I don't care what you average if it results in wins. That's why I have Bill Russell so high. Because, you know why? Because Bill Russell, even though he scored... Well, once again, but here's what people don't factor in. Okay, they're like, he only scored 14 a game on 44% shooting, or whatever the numbers are. And I was like, yeah, but he would get you 30 rebounds and 12 blocks. So he'd get me 42 more possessions. Literally 42 more possessions. That's not counting his offensive rebounds and his steals and all this other stuff. So if the dude shooting 14 points and giving me 40, I don't give a fuck, 12 points at 42%, but you get me 40 extra possessions, you're going to be high up there because that's efficient.
Absolutely. That's impacting the game tremendously in ways that, like you said, maybe the eye test doesn't necessarily see that portion, and it can't recognize it as a skill when it is such a tremendously important skill.
No doubt. And then when they try to diminish him with there's only 8. Well, when they try to diminish him with only 8 teams in the league, I go, well, first of all, I want you to think about this. If we contracted these 30 teams into 8 teams now, that means top 50 players would not be starting. 1. So that means the teams were deeper. Secondly, I mean, if it was so easy, how come no one else has got 11 rings during that era?
Mhm.
He's the only one to do it.
Absolutely.
So what were you going to ask me?
I mean, the Bill Russell stuff is so difficult because, like you said, I mean, impact on winning is really the most important thing when it really boils down to the end of the day.
I agree.
What the game is about, it's impact on winning.
What the game is supposedly about.
Has one of those that's hard to see. Yeah, yes, exactly. I mean, it may not be aesthetically pleasing, but if it impacts winning, that's the end all be all.
Well, that's kind of like aesthetically pleasing. I don't know. I guess I have different aesthetics because, like, for example, let's use Shaq versus Jason Williams. So I watch a guy make the basket 60% of the time, and then I watch this other dude miss the basket 60% of the time. Why are you watching 60% misses? Why is that more appealing to your eyes? Like, that's not appealing to me.
Right.
Watching someone brick and brick and brick. I don't care how much they're dribbling. I care that the ball went in.
Yeah, but see, everyone else wants to see them put the ball through their legs and off their elbow and off their head first, and then see it go in, and that is basketball.
Can I tell you a couple? Can I tell you a couple plays that I ran? Like, this is what I mean by like aesthetically pleasing and not. But like, so every once in a while, I'll get really passionate and like, just start screaming at the TV if I'm watching it, or maybe I'm listening to a podcast and I'll start screaming at the podcast. I'm pretty even keeled dude, but okay, DeAndre Ayton 2 years ago against the Nuggets in the playoffs, right? I forget who it was. They threw an alley-oop under the basket, right? And it was a fast break alley-oop. It was him and a 6-foot guy that was guarding him, and I forget who it was. And he fouled him because DeAndre Ayton tried to catch the ball up and tried to finger roll it over a 6-foot guy. And he got fouled, and they didn't call it. So next thing I'm like, that's what you fucking get. Why the fuck are you trying to finger roll on a 6-foot? You know what I mean? So that's the type of stuff. So but now I would say some people would like, that dude caught it, then laid it up, and then like, stupid shit. And it didn't work. Kobe, 2010 conference finals against the Suns. He tries to put Jared Dudley in an and one mixtape. The first couple dribbles between his legs, he could have beat him. But instead, he wants to go through his legs 12 times like he's in a mixtape tour. And Jared Dudley ripped the ball from him. So once again, I'm up, that's what you fucking get. Why the fuck are you dribbling? You know what I mean? And so it's not aesthetically pleasing to me. If it's effective, it's aesthetically pleasing. If it's not pleasing to me.
Mm-hmm. And that's definitely a thing that I think makes sense because, yeah, I mean we've kind of beat the dead horse, but production. I mean, what you do is what you're going to be known for. I mean, that's it. I mean, the highlight tapes are great, but if you want to win, you got to impact the game differently. So yeah, we only got a few minutes left, so I wanted to save this for the end because this is a piece that I need your opinion on. Now, when we talk about the Lakers, like we mentioned earlier, one of the things that people always kind of talk about is greatest Laker of all time. And Kobe Bryant gets put as the number one Laker, which I can understand the argument stuff. But because of that, I feel like he gets put into like GOAT conversations and conversations that may be above his tier of
resume
potentially. Yeah. Maybe they're there. So like, I've always been curious because you tend to have a very articulate argument for Kobe Bryant. What is your opinion on his credentials as a GOAT candidate versus a top 10 player versus his ranking is how we view him?
Well, I have Kobe outside the top 10. I have him at 11. And to be honest with you, if I used the numbers, he wouldn't even be that high. But at the end of the day, Kobe Bryant is the best player on 2 title teams with 1 MVP and no NBA records, at least no positive ones, unlike, missing the most shots ever. Now, some people will try to be like, he has the most defensive selections ever by a guard, or maybe it's the first team all team. But once again, That's a number like, yeah, but that's a number that 5 people get that every year, right? It's not that impressive when you do something that 4 other players get that with you. Now, if he had the most MVPs of all time, then that would be more impressive because only one person gets that. But everything that Kobe does, he had 9 straight. Well, Wilt had more. Yeah, but he had 81-point game. That's still second. There are no records for Kobe. It's like you got to lump in other people to get Kobe there. So that's one of the reasons. He's the best player on 2 title teams. In my top 10, there are 2 players that made top 10 lists that were the best player on 2 title teams, but one was like Hakeem, who could win every round on the road. Nobody else has done that. Kobe, when he won his titles, he won 65 games and won 4 rounds at home. I've seen that before. And I've seen people do it with better playoff records than Kobe. You know what I mean? So it's not that impressive in that regard. But once again, he's still the best player on 2 title teams. And he still has an MVP. So he's ahead of guys like Moses Malone, even though Moses Malone's numbers in peak would say he's better than Kobe. And, there's a few other guys like that too. One of the biggest things is, do you know there's 20 different advanced stats? Did you know that? 20
different advanced stats?
Yeah, 20 total. Like if you go to Basketball Reference.
Number total, but yeah, okay.
Right. So if you go to Basketball Reference, you're going to find 20 advanced stats. Did you know out of those 20, in 10 of them, Kobe Bryant isn't in the top 250 players. Then you got his defense, right? Like supposedly he's a great, not even in the top 250. There isn't a single stat he's in where he's in the top 10. Then you got things like his defensive box plus minor throughout his whole career, a negative. His defensive rating outside the top 250. His offensive rating is 217. Now, supposedly he's this great offensive scorer. But really what it shows is he just shot the ball a lot. And a lot of players could have done a lot more than him if they shot the ball as much as he got to shoot it. So that's at the end of the day is what it is. Because I'm going to ask you, do you think if you're really, let's just say Kobe Bryant's the GOAT, right? Because you've heard some people say he's the GOAT, right? If you are the best player of all time, if you are the best player of all time, and I take 20 stats, you should be in the top 10 in at least one, right?
You'd assume.
No, but I'm saying the numbers should back that up. Like if I say I'm rich and I got 50 cents in my bank account, and I go, but ignore the numbers, I'm rich.
Yeah,
that doesn't really hold up. If I go, I got women every night, and every night I sit at home with no woman. Does that mean I got it? But ignore the fact that I don't got it. So I'm saying is there's no numbers to back it up. But all these other great players that are in the top 10, I can find the numbers to back it up. But I can't find the numbers with Kobe. So why is he wait, but here's my question. Why is he the only one out of the top 10 that no numbers can back it up?
Is it just his icon status? Is it because he's so revered? Do you think that he just gets kind of pushed into a platform maybe just because of that?
I think what happens is he's a lot of people's favorite player, so that plays into ego. How could my favorite player not be this good? Then we factor in shit that doesn't matter. They'll be like for example, they'll be like his impact, his footwork. Now I'm not saying you can, but so if Kobe has better footwork than someone like Shaq, well, Shaq was the best player on 3 title teams, and Kobe was the best player on 2. Obviously, footwork isn't the key to winning. Right. You get what I'm saying? Impact.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone score less points in a game. I've never seen the score be 87 to 102, and the team with 87 gets the win because they had more impact. Mm-hmm. What does that even mean? It's stupid. It's stupid shit. It's no way to quantify it. It means nothing. It means nothing. Now, it might mean more like as you making more money, but if we're talking on the court, your impact, because Allen Iverson was one of the most impactful players I've ever seen. How many rings he got? Mm-hmm. So they value the wrong shit. That's why. Because with Kobe, to elevate Kobe somewhere he doesn't, you have to value the wrong shit. Because once again, we'll just use this real quick. We'll just use the Shaq and Kobe thing. If you looked like all the series where Kobe outscored Shaq, and I'll just make up these numbers, but they're somewhere around there. He'll shoot 20 more times to get 15 more points. That's 0.75 points a shot attempt. And then you look at Shaq's numbers, and he's averaging 1.5 points a shot attempt. Why would I rather get 0.75 points off a shot when I could get 1.5? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. It makes no logical sense. But they'll argue somehow that's better.
Because it was difficult to make.
Well, I will say this too. Here's another one. I had this guy on live. He started telling me about LeBron's box score, box plus minus, and he really valued that. And he goes, well, Wade had a higher one than him, and Davis and Irving, and I didn't check the Irving one, so I don't know. But he was arguing for Kobe. And then I go, so he came in second on his team, so you're trying to say he's not the best player on those teams, right? I go, okay, well, in 2010, Kobe came in sixth in box plus minus score, behind Luke Walton. Now I'm just going to ask you, what's better positioning, second or sixth?
Yeah, not six.
And then if you lose out to Dwayne Wade or you lose out to Luke Walton, who's better to lose out to?
Right, not Luke Walton.
So that's what I'm saying. We value the wrong shit. With LeBron, that mattered. With Kobe, he's still great.
Absolutely. Oh man, looking at the time, I didn't realize that we are getting close to the end here. So I want to make sure that everybody that's watching knows the best place to find you, find your content. How do we follow Tony Styles?
Well, I'm on the same channel as you. I got a podcast called the HoopStorians, me and another guy, Unique. We're on nightly, not nightly anymore. I'm sorry. We're on weekly Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Got a lot of great guests on there. I got Bob Ryan coming up here pretty soon. I got Rudy Tomjanovich. We've had guys like Xavier McDaniel, Bobby Dandridge, Bob Pettit, Dick Mata. Who else? Bob McAdoo. And then I'm on TikTok. I usually do a live. I've been trying to do that lately a lot. Tony Styles and Friends. That's my TikTok. I got a YouTube page, but it has nothing to do with basketball. It's just like my former music videos and things like that. I think that's Tony Styles and Friends too. So if you search that up on YouTube, if you like scantily clad women and all that, why I do music, you'll like the shit. You'll like the videos. But there's a few places you can find me. I'm on Instagram, the fake Tony Styles too.
There we go. That's awesome. Well, we will check you out, man. I appreciate you, Tony, for coming by. This has been great. You've been a lot of fun. I appreciate your mind. It always fascinates me the way that it works. So thank you so much for your time, my guy.
Hey, don't forget, everybody, Orry B is B murder in these streets, okay? If he ain't told you, I will.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that means that I'm kind of cool. Right?
No, that's why the ladies call you Delicious.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Hoop Social, the Creator Hour, Sports Fluid. We hope you join us again next week. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope you guys have an excellent rest of your night.